I'm David Alemian. This video will provide you with a solution to stop talent turnover and acquire new talent whenever you need it. Suppose talent shortages, talent retention, or talent acquisition have been a problem for you. In that case, you're in the right place at the right time. I'm here to give you a solution that is guaranteed to work. Later in the presentation, I will show you how this solution is guaranteed to work. You will be able to use this as a retention tool to keep your team in place for many years to come. Moreover, you will be able to use this tool to attract new talent and retain it whenever you need it. What you're about to learn can help for-profit, not-for-profit, private, public, and government organizations. This video is part one of a two-part process. Part one is the concept. And all I want you to do is think concept. If you like the concept, you'll love part two. Part two is a talent retention strategy session that focuses on your organization. It's a no-cost, no obligation Zoom call discussion with me that will focus specifically on what you need. I'll ask you a few questions to gather some general information. Then, I'll be able to show you how this solution will work for your organization. And you get to ask me anything. Most importantly, at the end of the call, you'll know if this is the right strategy for you, and if it is, what the next step is. For years, hospitals have been struggling with the shortage of nurses. What I'm about to show you will enable you to attract and retain nurses. In addition to nurses, this solution will attract and retain physicians, executives, IT people, medical techs, or whomever you need on your team. If I sound excited, you're about to find out why. So right now, think concept. I've written a book titled Talent Retention: How to Attract and Retain Highly Skilled Professionals. At the end of this video, I'll show you how to get a complimentary copy of my book. It's an ebook in flipbook form, so that the pages turn and flip like a book. You can read it on any device, your laptop or desktop, iPad or smartphone. Let me ask you a question. As you look at this list, how many things do you see have been issues in your own organization? Stress, overtime, locum tenens, contract labor, you name it. Talk about expensive. These issues either cost money or create stress that nobody needs, or both. Generally speaking, each one of these issues, at least in part, can be connected to talent shortages and turnover. Just suppose you could fix the problem of talent shortages or substantially lower talent turnover. In that case, you could have a significantly positive impact on these issues. This slide shows that talent shortages and turnover affect many different parts of an organization. It's like a disease that starts in one place and then affects other parts of the body. Like any disease, you want to know how it started and you want to know how to treat it. So, let's look at how the skilled workforce shortage started and what you can do about it. What's the treatment? That old expression, good help is hard to find, has never been more true than it is today, right? The skilled labor pool is pretty dry. There aren't enough people with skills to go around. The law of supply and demand has created the tightest skilled labor market in 50 years. Employees are selling their skills and talents to the highest bidders. They've discovered that the quickest way to move up the ladder is to jump ship and go somewhere else every few years. The Department of Labor says the average U.S. worker changes jobs every 4.6 years. For employers, that's expensive. And staffing shortages are not very good for the patients either. Here's something that you might not know. The shortage of skilled labor will last well beyond the year 2060. In other words, it's not going to go away in our lifetime, and here's why. It's a matter of generational size. It started about 75 years ago. Here's what happened. The greatest generation came home from World War II. They got jobs, married their sweethearts, and started having babies, and they had a lot of them. It was the baby boom. In the 50s and 60s, the baby boomers swelled the population. In the 70s and 80s, they flooded the workforce. Around the year 2000, the baby boomers started to retire. Did you know that 10,000 people a day turn age 65? And we don't have 10,000 replacements a day. That's bad enough. But we're talking about the healthcare industry. This older generation of baby boomers is living longer and more active lives, and they want their doctors to keep them going. The longer they live, the more chronic illnesses they develop, and the more healthcare they need. The talent shortages that you're experiencing today are just the tip of the iceberg. This problem is still growing and getting bigger and worse as time goes on. Turnover costs are enormous. Research shows that the cost to replace a highly educated employee earning $100,000 and up is more than double their salary. It's 213% of salary, to be precise. You know, percentages are an important statistic, but they don't tell the whole story. They sanitize it. What I mean is, let's put these percentages into dollars so they become something meaningful. The higher the salary, the higher the turnover cost. For example, there are a lot of professionals in healthcare earning six-figure incomes. At 213% of salary, the turnover cost for someone earning $100,000, and that's the floor, is $213,000. Physician replacement costs around $1 million, plus or minus, depending on specialty and the number of patients served. And nurses are around 130% of salary. Now, think about your turnover percentages. When you convert those percentages into dollars, it's one of the highest hidden costs you have. Imagine what you could do with those funds. What if you could bring those numbers down substantially? Think about how much more you could get done, how much stress would go away, or how much easier life would be for you and your team. Here's another point. You gain absolutely nothing from turnover costs. Before the turnover, you had somebody doing a job. Then you had a turnover and its costs. And what did you gain? The answer is you gain nothing. The only thing that changed is that now someone else is doing the job. If you're serious about lowering the costs, this is an excellent place to start because, as you know, 60% of the cost of healthcare is labor. When we decrease our turnover costs, we substantially reduce the cost of labor. On the other side of this issue are the highly skilled and highly compensated employees. They have a different problem. They can't afford to retire. Now, not everybody, but most people live a lifestyle equivalent to their income. The more they make, the more they spend. And when they leave one company to go to another for more money, they end up buying more lifestyle, and the cycle continues. As a result, they have a terrific lifestyle, but very little savings. Certainly not enough to maintain their current lifestyle throughout retirement. According to reports from the American Medical Association and the American College of Physicians, retirement is the top financial concern for all U.S. physicians. Indeed, for most highly compensated employees, it's fee for service. They work, get paid. Stop working, stop getting paid. But the bills keep coming, and they go up because of inflation. Funding retirement is an enormous problem, and they don't have a solution because if they did, they'd be doing it, right? Today's job candidates often have multiple offers, and they want to know why they should come work for you. They want to know. When you can offer them a solution to their retirement problem, you will hold the key to long-term skilled workforce retention and acquisition. Years ago, employers enjoyed a full roster of employees. There were no shortages of employees. People would spend their entire careers at one, maybe two companies. Why? They wanted a lifetime pension, and they would stay with a company for as many years as it took to get it. Here's how you can use lifetime retirement income to retain your key employees for many years to come. It's called a Supplemental Executive Retirement Plan, SERP, combined with a long-term cliff vesting period. SERPs are also known as executive benefits. These are cash value life insurance policies that can provide substantial tax-free retirement income. I also mentioned cliff vesting. The cliff vesting is the glue that binds everything together. Cliff vesting means that if the employee voluntarily leaves before completing the cliff vesting period, the employee forfeits the benefit. The employee walks away empty-handed, and the employer's investment in the employee remains with the employer. Remember I said that this solution is guaranteed? There's your guarantee. The cliff vesting protects the employer's investment in the employee for years. Many hospital boards have included executive benefits, or SERPs, as part of the CEO's compensation package to keep them happy and retain them. Here's how you can take the concept of executive benefits and put it on steroids. 1. Make it a group executive benefit plan and include your key employees, senior executives, physicians, nurses, and others. The employer has complete discretion over who receives the benefit. 2. We attach a cliff vesting period to the SERP. It could be 3 years, 20 years, or anything in between. You can have different vesting periods for different employees. New employees could have longer vesting periods, and employees who've been with you for many years could have shorter ones. Suppose you have a long-term employee approaching retirement age, but you don't know when they're going to retire. You could use this to reward that employee for their years of service and plan for that retirement with a smooth transition. Speaking of employees, how many times have you invested in an employee with company training or sent them to school? The training or schooling made that employee more valuable. It also made that employee more valuable to another employer. I got a question. What's to stop that employee from taking their new skills that you paid for to another employer for more money? That's frustrating. And it's also infuriating. Cliff vesting protects your investment in the employee. Without cliff vesting, employees have nothing to lose and everything to gain by leaving. Cliff vesting instantly puts an end to that and turns it all around by creating a huge incentive to stay. Here's the general idea in a nutshell. The employer pays for the plan and it costs the employee nothing. In exchange, the employee agrees to stay with the company until a specific date off in the future. The employer wins by mitigating turnover and the enormous turnover costs. The employees win because they can now maintain their current lifestyle when they retire and never run out of money. Everybody wins. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, David, sounds great, but how do we pay for it? Good question. The answer is you finance it with a commercial bank. It's just like any other large purchase. The SERP uses a cash value life insurance policy. It's so safe and secure that the banks are happy to lend money for it. They use an interest-only loan with a very low interest rate, specifically designed for this purpose. It's the safest kind of loan that a bank can make because the collateral for the loan is the cash in the plan. Moreover, there are additional funding sources to pay for the interest on the loan. I can't get too deep into details right now because we'll run out of time. But to anyone who's interested, we can schedule a time to go into as much detail as you want. The bottom line is that a combination of these sources can fully fund the plan without increasing the drain on your cash flow. Here's how it works. A hospital offers a supplemental executive retirement plan, SERP, with a 10-year cliff vesting period to a key employee. Utilizing a letter of credit as collateral, the hospital obtains a special commercial bank loan. The hospital puts the money from the loan into a cash value life insurance policy on that key employee in 10 equal installments over the next 10 years. The hospital services only the interest portion of the loan, and there are other funding sources to pay for that interest. In the meantime, the cash value in the life insurance policy grows and compounds tax deferred. Eventually, the principal has to be paid back to the bank. In about the 15th year of the plan, there's been enough growth in the cash to take out a lump sum and pay off the bank in full. At age 65, the key employee can enjoy a lifetime tax-free income. Here is what it looks like on a spreadsheet. In this case, we have a 40-year-old key employee. It could be a physician or an executive. This employee's biggest concern is having enough money for a comfortable retirement. Here's how we can solve that problem Remember, all you want is for the employee to agree to stay with the company for the next 10 years. Or it could be 15 years. Or it could be 20 years. Or it could be only 5 years. That's between you and the employee. In this example, it's only 10 years. In the column with the number 1, you can see a $100,000 loan going into the plan for 10 years, with $1 million over 10 years. In the column with the number 2, you can see the loan interest percentage rate. In this case, it's 3%. It could be lower, it could be higher, but as I said, in this case, it's 3%. In the column with the number 3, we see the amount of money paid in interest. As I've stated before, there are other funding sources for that money to pay the interest. As you can see, the first year is only about $3,000, and it goes up by about $3,000 each year after that. So the second year is $6,000, the third year is $9,000, and so on, until it levels off at just over $30,000 a year in year 10. You can even choose to stop the interest payments in year 10 and defer interest in the future. I'll show you that in a minute. Column number 4 is where we pay back the loan principal in full. In this case, the $1 million that we borrowed from the bank has been growing and compounding for 15 years. At this point, we take out a lump sum from the cash in the policy and pay off the loan. Here's one of the best parts. Column number 5. At age 65, the employee has a lifetime tax-free income of $125,000 a year when you include their Social Security and any other assets that they may have. Their retirement is quite comfortable. Yes, in the picture they look very pleased about that. If the employee started at a younger age, the income at age 65 would be even higher. What if they chose to wait until age 70 to take the income? The tax-free income would likely be somewhere around $150,000 a year for life. What if they just let the money grow and compound and leave it to their spouse or kids? The death benefit would be literally in the millions. It would bypass probate and pass directly to the beneficiaries, tax-free. In other words, they now have some excellent options to do whatever works for them. The column with the number 6 shows us the required collateral in the early years. Notice it stops after the 6th year. That's because the cash in the policy is greater than the loan amount. We no longer need the letter of credit for the collateral, and the bank releases the letter of credit. Number 7 shows the policy's cash value after paying back the bank loan. At the top of the column, the red was when there was less cash value than the amount borrowed. Number 8 shows the death benefit after paying back the bank loan. The wonderful thing about this illustration is that these numbers are all linear. For example, if you look at the first column showing the $100,000 a year, if you cut that number in half, the numbers reduce by about half. You can change that number up or down, and the other numbers move accordingly. The one exception is the 3% interest rate. These plans are all fully customized to meet the employer's specific needs. You could have a group of 10, 20, or 100 physicians, nurses, and executives. You could have different amounts for different individuals. What if you have a big organization with thousands of employees? You could start a pilot program and scale it from there. I used 100,000 in this illustration because it's a round number, making it easier to show the concept. What's important is that these numbers are fully scalable up or down, whatever works for you. Cost control is critical in any business. Without a plan like this, turnover is an uncontrolled cost. This slide shows how we're controlling the cost of turnover. The top row is the 3% interest. The middle row is the interest paid each year, shown in dollars, and the bottom row shows the funds from the loan. In this case, we capped all the loan interest payments in the 10th year. The total interest paid was $165,000 on the far right. Now let's look at the two sections along the bottom of the slide. On the left is the Department of Labor estimate of the expected 10-year turnover cost for an executive with a $150,000 a year salary. It's $578,804. Now, subtract the interest paid, and the savings is $413,804. That's for one employee. Multiply that by your turnover rates, and suddenly the hospital is saving millions and millions of dollars. That's money that can go to providing better health care for the community. Supplemental executive retirement plans with long-term cliff vesting periods. The employees win, the hospital wins, and the community you serve wins. Everybody wins. Ask yourself this question. Would your doctors, nurses, executives, and other key employees want a future of financial security? Moreover, it makes sense to give them a choice. I think it's safe to say that almost anybody concerned about ensuring a comfortable retirement would enthusiastically say yes. What about acquiring or recruiting new employees? It's a fact that there are millions of highly skilled people out there who don't know how they're ever going to retire. They include physicians, nurses, executives, IT people, you name it. What you have just seen will empower you to solve their retirement problem. It reminds me of a quote from the movie The Godfather. You will be making them an offer that they cannot refuse. When you can do that, the top talent will be standing in line to work for your organization. As I mentioned, initially, today's webinar is part one of a two-part process. If what you just saw made sense, I strongly encourage you to check out the Talent Retention Strategy session in part two. It's a no-cost, no-obligation Zoom call discussion focused on your organization and what you need. I'll ask you a few questions about your organization and we'll talk about your challenges and goals. I'll explain how the whole process works. And you can ask me anything. Most importantly, at the end of the call, you'll have enough information to decide for yourself if this is the right strategy for you, and if it is, what the next step is. My contact information is next, so you can send me an email and request a complimentary copy of my book. Just put the words complimentary book in the subject line, and I'll reply by sending you your free copy. You can also book your strategy session by going to calendardavid.com. That's calendardavid.com. Choose the best day and time that works for you. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to our strategy session together.